you've got to have a balanced community. And that community has to have that open space, that green space. And so we're filling a void from an equity perspective, but we're also filling a void from an overall San Antonio perspective. And that we aren't putting in a second botanical garden. We aren't putting in a second Hardburger Park. They have their purpose, their place, and we will build a fantastic place. We will put in place programming that can complement that geography, that culture, those people that attend there, be it visitors or residents alike. But one of the fundamental principles that our board has really resolved to is that we will make a fantastic place, the Arboretum San Antonio. It's the idea of the Arboretum that we want to bring to San Antonio and in fact to South Texas is we want to have ideas that come out of there, the research that we might do about what trees to grow, how to grow the native trees that we have, the celebration of those trees, right? The history that we can bring to people's backyard, that we can bring to people's pocket parks, that we can bring to the city and the county. We can grow trees in a nursery that we're going to build. We can give those trees to the city, the county, and to the residents of San Antonio, such that that Arboretum becomes San Antonio.
Sure, we know San Antonio wouldn't be San Antonio without its river. But what about its trees? From the majestic live oaks that shelter, shade, and support the lives of many butterflies, birds, mammals, and more, to the magnolias lining our riverwalk, under whose dense foliage many a tourist will enjoy a 2-foot-tall margarita. Our pecan trees may be the tallest growing trees in Texas, reaching 70 to 100 feet tall, with a sweet edible nut beloved as one of the most valuable cultivated crops with origins in North America. To the many hackberries, affectionately called a trash tree, that while short-lived, bears fruits ravished by a dozen different species of birds, and the species of tree that countless numbers of caterpillars call home. San Antonio, despite anyone's preconceived notions or dusty, worn-out images of the Alamo, is a place for trees. It was announced in fall 2023 that a future San Antonio Arboretum would replace the Republic Golf Course, a 188-acre site along the Salado Creek off Military Drive in southeast San Antonio. With that announcement, the organization behind this project needed a plan. And so, you and I and the rest of San Antonio received an invitation. Because the organization, Arboretum San Antonio, is committed to not just making a place for San Antonio, but making a place that is San Antonio. So for us, as San Antonians, this presents an opportunity to learn, understand, and perhaps reimagine what our trees mean to this city. And so, to discuss how we make a place for trees and a place for you and me, I'm joined by the current CEO of Arboretum San Antonio, Tom Corser. Let's break some ground and start first with Tom's affection for this city.
I married into San Antonio back in 1983. I was going to Texas A&M and met my wife, Tina, there, and we got married in 83. But then we quickly went up to Wisconsin for more school and then ended up taking a job with AT&T Bell Labs out in New Jersey. And we spent about 33 years in New Jersey, Pennsylvania. And then about 8 years ago, moved back to San Antonio. And so I brought Tina home, and I was still working at the time, but then retired from Juniper Networks, a technology company out in California. Once I retired, I went through a master's leadership program and got interested in nonprofits. And then Henry Cisneros, with this idea of an arboretum, came along and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I got a great thing for you to do." And so I officially failed at retirement and got involved in the Arboretum in a big way.
Let's talk about the Arboretum project, more of an introduction to it. Where is it? Is it going to be located? What's the status of that particular site? And maybe some initial, just so we can start to contextualize in our minds, like what are broad timelines on this project of, opening days, et cetera, et cetera?
Sure. We initially started off on a different site than where we are now. But through some inspection and kind of analysis of a conservation easement that they had on a spot of track, which is now owned by Texas A&M and San Antonio River Authority, just beside the TJ Maxx facility, they could only allow 4 acres for an arboretum, and that just wouldn't work. So we went on kind of a deep dive analysis of different properties on the south side where we could have an arboretum. And our intention is to situate this somewhere on the south side as a initiative of somewhat green space equity balance. And we landed one of 6 properties that we analyzed, the Old Republic Golf Club, which is just off Southeast Military between 37 and 410. Very accessible, 12 minutes from downtown, about 1.5 miles from Brooks, and perfect spot. It really is ideal. It's got the Salado Creek runs through it. It's got 4 miles of former golf cart concrete cart paths that are in pretty good shape. Some areas need some love, but it's got a lot of existing trees. It's got a pond, recycled water contract that can keep that pond full of recycled water. So we can put in that infrastructure to keep whatever we need to green without impacting the Edwards Aquifer. So a very sustainable story. We're really excited about that. And it's just a wonderful place with some vistas and beautiful heritage trees, that 150 to 200-year-old trees that can reflect on a lot of the history of San Antonio. We can maybe dive into that later, but just a lot of dimensions on this property that make it well suited for an arboretum. It was purchased in 2 tranches. One was Brooks, because of the proximity to Brooks, and Leo Gomez, the CEO of Brooks, is on our board. And he was so excited, but he brought this to their board of directors for consideration strategically about an investment outside of their 3,100 acre footprint, Brooks, to say, let's raise that tide of the whole area economically, right? And by Brooks investing in this arboretum, they can have a role in that. And it's just been not just the financial investment of the land, but the marketing investment and the synergies that we bring operational. The second tranche was we were grateful enough to the county for a grant of $7.3 million capital money for 3 purposes. One is to buy additional land that's out of the floodplain. So we bought 18 acres addition that's largely out of the floodplain for facilities and things. As well, it'll pay for master planning and for road and parking lot infrastructure as we plan out this arboretum. Really great to have you here. This is probably the favorite part of my job, right, is to give people tours of the area. But I just wanted to give you a view of the property itself. Here's Southeast Military, 37's up here. Brooks is up in this area. We've got 410 coming down here. So it's a very accessible piece of land, former Republic Golf Club. We've got neighborhoods on both sides of us. So an extremely rich start to our arboretum. The yellow lines are the cart paths. And it's got about 4 miles on this plot of land. We've got a number of trees on here, a number of groups of trees. We've got a pond. It's about a 7-acre pond filled with recycled water. So Saws, as they have a water treatment plant just south of us here, they create recycled water or purple pipe water that can be used for irrigating a former golf course, or now an arboretum. And so we have 300 acre feet, which is a lot of water to keep this a very verdant place. So it's not potable, I couldn't drink it, but the plants can. We're keeping this green and alive, but we're not impacting the Edwards Aquifer. This property is 188 acres. We've got the Salado Creek running through the property. The orange lines here are the City of San Antonio
Howard Peak Greenway Trail right of way. Not built yet, but soon to be built, and will be our bike trail. Again, that necklace that goes around the city, this is going to be a component of that. As we dive into this master planning and understand, okay, what are we going to do purposely with this, and what are the phases going to break up? It is going to be chunked up into phases, and we'll look at what we develop, what we keep more natural and untouched versus what we develop into the experience. This oak tree is one of our kind of revered trees of the area, and it says a lot about our area and means a lot to all of us at the Arboretum. This is trees estimated to be 150 to 200 years old. And it's a great point of education. It's a great point of celebration of heritage, because you could imagine telling a story of what this tree has witnessed, right? It's pretty exciting, especially as you gather a group of students under a canopy like this and start telling stories of the trees and our Native Americans that settled here, and what they did with the pecans, and what they did with the mesquite seeds, and how they embraced the shade, how they interacted with the creek and utilized the land for farming and so forth. So it provides a rich context for our heritage, and we're very excited about telling those stories and gathering those people to learn those stories.
Tom, I'd love to hear if you could just define what an arboretum is and why that's different than some of the other green spaces that San Antonio already enjoys. We have a botanical garden, a really wonderful one at that. And of course, we have many city parks. We have natural areas available to us. So what's different and special and unique about an arboretum?
So arboretum, the word arboretum, arbor, tree, retum is a Latin word for place for trees. And in comparison to a botanical garden, and you're right, we have a phenomenal botanical garden here in San Antonio, and it's revered by many, including myself. But it is, by nature, by definition, a very highly manicured and beautiful garden that you walk through. And it has trees as well, right? Whereas I think of it as a spectrum, where a botanical garden is that highly manicured space, where on the other end, an arboretum is more of a walk in the woods, where it's more of a nature-based, and we will have those instances of manicured spots and beautiful places to take those quinceañera pictures, or to propose to your bride-to-be or groom-to-be. And there's going to be a mix. And so where we land on that spectrum will be defined through our master planning process, right? In terms of how much manicured space versus how much natural. But an arboretum really is that place where you can look at the land and see it for the way it was and the way it can be in the future. And we will plant trees. We will plant native trees. We will do research to understand what new trees we can bring in that will sustain us in the future, right? What trees are most apt to grow in our neighborhoods in the future. And we will provide a place for reflection, for that solitude, that walk in the woods, where you can remediate yourself for your own soul, as well as your community, and bring people out to celebrate whatever it is you want to celebrate.
So I'm wondering what is the big why behind the Arboretum? Of course, I think you explain it right now, and it's something that people can get excited about. It's like, of course, San Antonio should have this. Why not? I mean, it sounds like a really a wonderful, remarkable thing for us to enjoy. But what do y'all see as the Arboretum's purpose? Like, what is it a response to in San Antonio? What is it addressing as maybe both an opportunity or problems that exist within the city? Like, what purpose does the Arboretum serve as y'all forecast it for the city of San Antonio and the greater area?
Yeah, I think a big part of that is place. The place where we're having this Arboretum is on the southeast side of town, and San Antonio is seeing enormous growth, right? And it's become more evenly radial outside of downtown, right? Our north has seen a lot of the growth in our past, but in the future, we're seeing a great deal of infrastructure being installed in the south, companies locating on the south side, right? That's going to bring growth to the south. And an important part of any community is a balanced community. We need to focus on housing, streets, schools, food, desert situations, heat island situations that we find a lot prevalent in the South and the West. And those are important issues to address. But once addressed, you've got to have a balanced community. And that community has to have that open space, that green space. And so we're filling a void from an equity perspective, but we're also filling a void from an overall San Antonio perspective, in that we aren't putting in a second botanical garden. We aren't putting in a second Hardburger Park. They have their purpose, their place, and their programming and so forth. We will build a fantastic place. We will put in place programming that can complement that geography, that culture, those people that attend there, be it visitors or residents alike. But one of the fundamental principles that our board has really resolved to is that we will make a fantastic place, the Arboretum San Antonio. But it's the idea of the Arboretum that we want to bring to San Antonio and, in fact, to South Texas, is we want to have ideas that come out of there, the research that we might do about what trees to grow, how to grow the native trees that we have, the celebration of those trees, right? The history that we can bring to people's backyard, that we can bring to people's pocket parks, that we can bring to the city and the county. We can grow trees in a nursery that we're going to build. We can give those trees to the city, the county, and to the residents of San Antonio, such that that Arboretum becomes San Antonio.
It's nice to have these water features at an arboretum, and this is a really special place because San Antonio is made up of this network of creekways, and we've got to manage it. And we've had the San Antonio River Authority out here for a hike, and they're very engaged and interested in helping us manage this creekway, both from a preservation perspective as well as a use perspective. So we want people to understand the creekways and the dynamics of the flora and fauna that are in this riparian zone, they call it, and also understand the invasive species problem that we have and how we can begin to manage that. But we've got to make sure that people use it in the right way, and that's where the River Authority is such experts at this, is interaction with public use of spaces as well as making sure public use it in the right way. And that's very important to us, is that we preserve this and make sure that some of our banks don't erode and that we do the right things to repair any damage that exists or prevent any further damage. So it's really important. One thing that we have on our list is to monitor the water quality, both on the Salado Creek as well as in our pond of recycled water that we have, to understand its condition as well as what possible things we might do to make sure we preserve it right. Because, we want to make sure we have an environment that fosters the wildlife, right? The birds, the fish, and that whole ecosystem that goes with having a pond. There's still a lot of question about whether we'll have fishing there or not, right? That has to be vetted through our master planning process, right? I have an opinion, but that doesn't count as much as San Antonio's opinion. We were out here this year during the Basura Bash, and we took out a whole bunch of tires and trash and things like that. So this is considerably cleaner than it was last year at this time. But given the recent rains that we've had and the flooding that's incurred, there's very little trash here. So I'm very pleased with the lack of gathering of just minor trash and things along the creek. So that's a good positive. But like all of our creekways, we do suffer from that. We'll have a big volunteer force eventually that will come out and maintain this. And amazing interest in San Antonio to volunteer out here people to come out and participate in this. We've got a couple big things to do right now. We've got master planning, which is underway, great team. We're making great progress, so that's kind of on its way. We've got to do development, which is important because we've got to have operational funding. We've got to have funding for whatever master planning produces in terms of phase one. It's going to be a fairly steep dollar cost to do that. And three is we've got to find that next generation of CEO to replace me as I retire. So one of the things I get real excited about from a development perspective is what we could do here on the property to attract people, to kind of help them with their vision, right? What could we do that would be indicative of what you could do at an arboretum? This spot here is perfect. I'm trying to get our landscape to mow this regularly and begin to get grass to grow. I want to get some of our recycled water out in this area and make a hilly knoll or almost an amphitheater, put a stage down there and have some events. Because I think this would be a perfect place under the stars, under the moonlight, to have a concert. I just get very excited about that.
We are fortunate to be with all the great springs that we have and the San Antonio River, and through history, we've utilized that, and it's reflected in our greenery and the state of the city. And that's something that we want to celebrate through this Arboretum, is to show that history. Again, we have heritage trees that have been here 200 years. And so that's a huge educational vehicle for us to celebrate our heritage of reflecting back on our Native American brethren, of our Spanish brethren, of our Mexican brethren who've come here and utilized the land, the water, and the trees to sustain themselves. And I think it's a very exciting prospect of that celebration.
I agree. And I'm curious, Tom, perhaps while having been someone with an affinity for nature and trees, what has been in your 3 years at this leadership position for the Arboretum? What have been some major learnings or new understandings that you've come to about that living heritage of San Antonio that you personally feel most excited for people to share in with the outcomes of the Arboretum?
There's a number of things. I've been on a huge learning curve, right? And I've surrounded myself, obviously, with our board of directors and board of advisors who are very rich in a lot of different areas, be it civil engineering, be it arborists, be it professors at Trinity and Texas A&M San Antonio, or representatives from Sarah, SAWS, and CPS that are more nature and sustainability based. And so I've surrounded myself with those people and learned a lot. So I've come up a huge learning curve in terms of what the area means and what trees mean to San Antonio and how we can help mitigate some of the heat islands with the shade, how we can help by the green infrastructure, as Suzanne Scott likes to call it, right? How that helps embody the mitigation of the flooding that we have, right? And how it can treat our soils and so forth. I was at the Arboretum the other day with a group of arborists and environmentalists, and we were talking about what kind of things we could do near term before master planning is done to improve the site. And we were standing at this beautiful vista where you looked out over this expansive area, and off to the side was this, what they call a snag tree, which is a dead tree that was still standing. And it had, all sorts of vines, and it just, disrupted the view of these other beautiful live trees. Mm-hmm. And I pointed to it and said, I wonder if we could take that down because it kind of disrupts that. And boy, I was taken to task. Went to school and they said, no, Tom, that's exactly what an arboretum is. Is to show that and to highlight that and make that a learning lesson for people, is that's an ecosystem for nature, right? Birds nest in there, bugs nest in there, animals live in there, right? And they make their home there. And that's part of that ecosystem. That's what an arboretum is, right? And again, that spectrum I talked about, but botanical garden in an arboretum, a botanical garden might be inclined to take that down right away just because it isn't that manicured spot. But we've got to take that as a lesson, as a learning point, right? As it was for me, as will be for our future visitors there. So I think that was just a great example of the kind of things that I've learned through this. And, I'm, again, fortunate to be surrounded by such great people to do that.
Mm-hmm. The metaphors are aplenty with the life cycle of a tree, still on surface after its life,
Undoubtedly.
and home to many. Tom, you've mentioned this master planning phase that y'all are in right now. Can you describe more of what that is, what the timelines on the master plan and the results might be from that? Like what could we expect as community members?
So once we acquired the land last year and actually closed on it, and that was the next logical step, because now we're left with 188 acres that's been fallow for 4 years. Great start, has trees, has a creek, has cart paths, has a right of way for the bike trails to go through it. So it's a lot of great bones, but they're bones, right? So we had to initiate a master planning. We went through a very formal process of selection and went from 18 high quality responses to a request for qualifications down to 3. And we did a RFP, request for proposals. And we formed a committee off of our board and board of advisors to decide on who to select. We selected Sasaki, an extremely deep company that has a lot of experience in public gardens and doing the master plan as well as the follow through. So we've been about 3 months under our wing now with them, and we've already completed phase 1 of that effort of baselining our land, our water, the flora and fauna, and the community. And we're going to have we've had a couple pop-up events already with their engagement. We're asking all of San Antonio to come and voice and tell us what they'd like to see, tell us what their vision is for an arboretum, learn about what an arboretum is, as well as inspire us about what they would like to see. But the master planning process is about a 12-month process that we're going through. It involves Sasaki with a lot of deep resources there, but it also engages a number of firms in San Antonio. And that's, I think, a really big component of the team that we put together to do this master planning. It's not just people from outside San Antonio. It has a lot of bones or intelligence and culture and experience of San Antonio. People who know the flora, fauna, people who know the land, people who know the stories, people who know the community. The master planning has 4 key deliverables. One is a strategic plan. We've been through strategic planning before, but we're renewing that, right? We've learned a lot in these 3 years that we've been together. And so we're trying to reflect that and redoing that strategic plan just to kind of make sure we're solid about who we are, why we are, mission, vision, values. And then second component is the site plan. What are we going to do with 188 acres? That's a lot of land, and that will take time. It'll take a fair investment to make happen. A third component is the operations plan. Right now, we don't have an operating arboretum, so we've got to understand the business model, understand the programming model, the staffing over time, how we're going to do the fundraising coincident with the phases that we describe in the site plan. And the fourth, and this is something Sasaki was adamant about bringing in, is this community engagement. We've got a very strong team that's engaging the community to understand what we do with this land and to help advise us about what directions we take on specifics, on programming, specifics on features of the land, things they'd like to do there. We've got a survey that's on our website that I urge everybody to take and provide your voice into that. We've got a couple focus groups that we've got subject matter experts coming together to kind of, again, advise us on those directions. There's a big tradition in San Antonio of Easter picnics, right? We'd love to be that destination, but we've got to do that and have places for that and appropriate accommodations. And so all those things need to go into that mix about who San Antonio is. And that's why it's so important that we have a team on master planning team that knows San Antonio that can continue to represent that as we go through this process. But more importantly is the voice of San Antonio through the pop-up events, through the community events, through the survey, through the focus groups. We need to hear in volume those voices such that we represent all those needs in the Arboretum.
Well, this is part of the Howard Peak Greenway Trails, and it right now is connected to the Salado Creek Greenway Trail, which goes up to Southside Lions, past the AT&T Center, and up to Hardburger Park. They just built this. I don't know where they stand with respect to the ribbon cutting, but it's in great shape. They did a fantastic job, the city did, with this, and we're very excited to have this as our neighbor. But they've done nice, responsible things like semi-permeable parking spaces. They've got restrooms. They've got art. They've got mapping, safety things, maintenance for bikes, things like that. So they do it right. And it's one of the assets of our city that we're happy as an Arboretum to play into, right? To have the Greenway Trails on the property. It's a very exciting time. We've had a lot of discussions about, do we actively work to restore it to what it was? Which is almost a false positive in the sense that you can't really do that. We are where we are, and the idea is to embrace the native plants and any research that we might do about future plantings, but how we could evolve this to be, hey, here's what this land looks like today, and in what it evolves to, right? We will manage our invasive species, we will manage invasive grasses and put in things that are more sustainable and native, but it's important for people to here in the city of San Antonio to have a place to look at, here's what that land looked like, and to invite our Mexican brethren, our Native American brethren, to come in and tell stories of the land that has been passed down their generations, to impart on me, on your children and their children's children about how this land was utilized and the history that came out of it. I think that's an extremely rich component of this Arboretum.
A lot of people ask me, Tom, are we going to have this? Tom, are you going to do this? Are we going to have it this way or that way? And I oftentimes say, I don't know. And I purposely want to say, I don't know, because I don't want to unfairly impose what I think. I think my job and the board's job is the principles, the values that we bring, and the purpose that we bring. The instances of what we bring, we need that input from San Antonio. And that's why this master planning is such an important process. That's why this next 9 to 12 months that we have in front of us is so important, to get maximum engagement of people, to get those ideas out there such that we can define this together.
And so maybe it's been layered throughout our conversation already, but you and the board, what feel like some success measurements for y'all 5, 10 years, 15, 20 years down the line? Does it feel like it's a well-used space? It's a source of a spur of economic development, or something that bolsters San Antonio's reputation, or maybe a myriad of all those factors? But what are y'all looking at as, what would make this project and this location, this space, as successful down the line?
Many dimensions. You mentioned a number of them, right? So having people go there and enjoy themselves and learn there and be inspired or repair there. I mean, walking in the woods, it's been very well documented that has both mental and physical benefits. There's the economic development, right? Rationale for Brooks investing in the Arboretum is we can bring a great place to this side of town. It will have benefit beyond its borders, just like Brooks has experienced. I think, having a place that people use, that people learn, that people can go to, that's safe. That's we've got to make it safe. And there obviously at any place things will happen, but it depends on our response and how we deal with that, and how we protect people and how people feel going in. One of the principles we have is this notion of green equity, and that, Henry from the beginning laid down that it's going to be free to get in. And so that brings to me, as kind of the businessman side, I think, a real challenge. How do we make this economically sustainable? There are examples out there, to your point, of other arboretums that I've talked to who don't charge a fee to get in. Houston Arboretum being one of them. They monetize themselves elsewhere: parking, facilities rental, concessions, bringing in other folks that are like-minded, like-defined, to lease space. So there's options to monetize this and having people use it. One of the visions we have is to build very big parking lots, and every school day have a large number of school buses there, right? Where that's a destination for people for outdoor education.
Well, and at a timeline in which the community can begin to see or use this space, I mean, we know if there's new plantings, how long it takes for a tree to grow and develop. But you've already mentioned there's many trees there, and I've been at that space before, golfing a few years back. Not that I'm a golfer, and maybe it was best that place got shut down. And
I think I found your ball.
Yeah, right. No, you didn't. But what are some of the earliest timetables for when community members may be able to see, access, or use the space in any sort of regard, even if the project's not in its ultimate manifestation, of course.
Yeah. So, there's one reality is that these places and other arboretums I've talked to, other botanical gardens that they built, it takes a while to build out, and it takes a fair amount of money investment to do that. And we're going through master planning now, which is going to be done next spring. That will define a phase 1, a phase 2, and a phase 3, and so forth. And that phase 1 is going to be a pretty big chunk of both time to design and build, as well as a chunk of money to design and build. And so I would expect, 3 years before phase 1, we're cutting any ribbons, 3, maybe 4 years. But in the meantime, we also have cart paths that are very readily, we have the ability to invite people out for various events or programming and things like that. So we have yet to work through that process, but I aspire to do that. I aspire that to happen very soon, but when, I don't know, I can't commit to. So it will have very soft openings, and we're looking at how to do that such that inspiration, that excitement, that interest that we've gained so far, we've had great interest, continues, and that people can begin to experience it. And we might not have that experience as a full arboretum, because that will take that phase 1 build out to really claim an arboretum, but we can begin down that path.
And are there any specific challenges, like top of mind for you and the greater organization, Tom, like things that y'all think in particular are, I don't know, cautionary notes or things that you really need to make sure to focus on and address in the ensuing planning period and thereafter?
I think we've taken care of some of that concern, and that is to make sure we build Arboretum San Antonio. That's really San Antonio based. And then we're not just hiring somebody to come in from some other place that knows arboretums that's not San Antonio and build something here that doesn't reflect us. So I think our community engagement is extremely strong and robust, such that we get that. So I think that concern is allayed. I think we have a couple key things. One is safety. We've got to make sure it's a safe place. And we don't have all those solutions that will come out of our master planning, and they know that's top of my mind and that we've got to address. 2, I'd say, is money. Is how are we going to fund this, right? We are a 501c3, a nonprofit. And so, we will go, and we are going towards all key areas: federal, state, and local grants, foundations. We're looking at corporate engagement. We're looking at private philanthropic monies. And so, one of the things I ask of the San Antonio and South Texas community is engage in our survey, engage in our focus groups, engage in our public events, but engage financially, because we need your help to make this happen. And, we've got the challenge right now is we've got to get to a point where we have earned income to sustain ourselves organizationally. And so we need the help of all of those dimensions of fundraising right now to do that. I think the other challenge is, as I mentioned to you, I failed retirement once. I'm going to try it again. And so our organization has just launched with Kittleman and Associates a search for a new CEO for my replacement. And so I do this with full enthusiasm and earnestness in that, we need that next generation of leadership. And we need a really high quality, inspired, passionate person that can come in and build this up to that next level, right? We've made great progress over these 3 years, but we've got a big hill to climb, especially as we look in the face of the phase one definition out of master planning and how we fund that, how we build that out. And so we're looking for that CEO now. So very excited about that.
And what are the aspirations this time for retirement, Tom, if any? Is another leadership program?
I still haven't figured out how to spell retirement, but that's in the vernacular, yes.
This is the start of that tree nursery. That's the pond that has all the recycled water in it. Gathers rainwater, obviously, too. But these are trees that we planted, 5-gallon trees. We planted about 140. We had, obviously, some that didn't make it due to the planting process itself. It's a rough process on a tree. We've got a fair amount of trees still doing well, and through a partnership with the horticulture department at Palo Alto College, we have one of their students, Eric Guerra, coming out and watering twice a week, which is really phenomenal work on his part. Very appreciative of that teamwork. And we're pulling water out of the pond to water these trees. We're working right now with the master planning team and some engineers to put in place a more permanent watering solution for these trees, as well as some other parts of the property. It portends a big future for us to do things like this, to mature as a operating nursery for the purpose of populating the property with native and interesting species, as well as providing the stock of non-commercially available trees for the city, for residents of the city. Again, this is part of that instance of going beyond a place to an idea of an arboretum, and how we can extend this idea of an arboretum beyond the borders of the arboretum into San Antonio, so people in the city can begin to adopt techniques and processes and philosophies about how to revere trees within the city. This is the direct relationship between the city saying, hey, if you're going to cut down, developer, if you're going to cut down a heritage tree, we're gonna charge you for that, and we're going to use that money to put canopy in place elsewhere. And this is part of that instance where we're trying to grow trees. We're creating that fodder for our future canopy. Now, the heritage tree that company XYZ cut down and paid a fee for into the tree mitigation fund, the shade comparable for these trees does not equate, but eventually it will catch up. A Greek proverb I love to quote that's very apropos for what the Arboretum is doing is, great societies are built by old men who plant trees under which shade they shall never sit. And I think that's appropriate, right? I, being an old man, am trying to plant trees, and I'm probably not going to enjoy the shade that these will provide, but our children, our children's children will. And I think that's an important principle by which we're founding this Arboretum, and which we're building this Arboretum for that long-term purpose. This is a long-term effort that will cost a lot of money, and we're going to have to invest. We're going to have to sweat equity, as well as financial equity, as well as purpose. And a lot of San Antonio is very much aligned with this Arboretum, with the idea of what an Arboretum is, with the expectation of using an Arboretum. That's very exciting. And we've got to follow through on that. And we've got to persevere through time and through challenges, financial challenges, operational challenges to make this happen. But I'm confident that with our board, with our existing funders, with the county and the city backing, we'll do that in spades.
Whenever you plant a tree, you have an opportunity to make history. A live oak planted in the ground might stay in that very same spot for hundreds of years, maybe 1,000. Looking backward, a tree of that character might have provided shade to the indigenous Payaya people somewhere near San Pedro Springs, or during the Battle of the Alamo in 1836, protection for either the troops of the Mexican army or Texian. Likewise, that tree will bear witness and offer its nature on such a timeline looking forward. Constant change from the vantage of where it's rooted. Whenever you plant a tree, you have an opportunity to create more life. Even what we consider our least desirable trees in our landscape serve a fundamental purpose of cultivating more, such as the very prickly and spiny ratamas or huisache trees adapted to grow in the most disturbed conditions. Out of a crack in the asphalt in a parking lot in the blistering sun, those trees grow fast, provide minimal but essential shade, and through the process of nitrogen fixation, bring nutrients into an otherwise lifeless soil below, so that they can create the conditions for other plants, perhaps less resilient, to sprout and grow. Whenever you plant a tree, you have an opportunity to give back. You'll give more comfort and safety to others around you as trees battle heat and cool the surrounding air through the process of evapotranspiration, where all plants, not just trees, release water vapor into the air when exposed to the sun. As cited by PhD Nadina Gall in her book, The Nature of Our Cities, even young trees have a net cooling effect equivalent to 10 room-size air conditioners operating for 20 hours a day. Within 15 years, that effect doubles. Combine that with the shade mature trees provide, and a canopy can reduce temperatures by almost 20 degrees Fahrenheit compared to communities with no tree canopy cover. You'll give back greater health, vitality, as microscopic pores on tree leaves take in gaseous molecules in the air of many kinds, but most importantly, toxic pollutants. San Antonio is a very historic city, and likewise, so are many of our trees. San Antonio is a lively and generous city, just like our trees. San Antonio is a city that values service, I suppose, just like our trees. There they are, rooted in one place, ready and available to be wielded for a variety of purposes to contribute back to our community, their community. Plant a tree, the right tree, and you'll have found a way to add to the historical timeline of what this city is and eventually what this city will be. You'll have found a way to make life a little easier for the next generations of birds, bees, and seeds. You'll have found a way to give back and serve your family and your community for many generations to come with greater comfort, safety, and stability in mind, body, and spirit. An arboretum might be a place for trees, but its purpose might be to plant a reflection of you and me. All right, y'all, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening to or watching this episode of Ensemble Texas. I just want to extend a thank you to my guest today, Tom Corser of Arboretum San Antonio. To get engaged with the Arboretum, please visit arboretumsa.org to do so. Specifically, I ask that you participate in the survey, the first of 3 community surveys the Arboretum will run to offer your input on what you hope the Arboretum San Antonio will become. Likewise, at arboretumsa.org, you'll find links to pop-ups and upcoming community events where representatives from the Arboretum will be excited to meet you and learn more about what you think is important for creating a fantastic place for San Antonio. All things Arboretum San Antonio will be linked up in our show post at podcast.ensembletexas.com. And finally, if you enjoyed this episode, I think you might really enjoy my newsletter, The San Antonio Ensemble, where each week I share with you one story to help you get better connected to this city and find out where you live. My mission is to help all of us learn more about the city we inhabit to help us build an even better San Antonio now and into the future. All right, y'all. Until next time.